SevereMMA, and I'm joined by the fighting pride of Wexford, Irish MMA OG, the Pike Man, Brian Moore. How are you doing today, Brian?
I'm doing very well, Andy. What's the crack?
Not too bad, not too bad. Brian, I was just thinking that I think you might be the most well-prepared man in all of Ireland for lockdown, are you?
Yeah, I'm just waiting to go. I'm just waiting for the date. So like I'm training. I'm actually trying to pull back on training, to be honest, because I know we'll be getting the call soon that there'll be a date in mind and we'll be straight into training camp. So I'm just ticking along nicely. I'm just upgrading my skills and keeping my conditioning where it needs to be.
Yeah, and I got to ask first of all. So I've been watching your Instagram and social media the last while, and I see you seem to be at any point in the day you're building something. You obviously built your own house, and now you're building a gym. Can you just walk us through kind of what you've been doing there? You've been kind of adding a new
Yeah.
facility.
So yeah, I have my own gym. More Fitness is like a 60-second drive down the road for me, but I'm gonna put my gym closer again, but this gym will be just for me, for my own training camps and things like that. I'll be able to get training partners down, my coaches down, but it'll be a great place for me to train. But because I'm building a garage for that, well, then I need another shed to put my shed stuff in. So I have to build two sheds since
So
this lockdown. So
you'll need another
I'm
shed for
busier
that
than
shed
ever.
then. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So had you planned that? Had you planned on building that facility kind of prior to the whole coronavirus lockdown, or was it just coincidental? Or
Yeah, I was in the process of it, but I was just expedited with this, what's going on. I kind of, I said, look, I'll just push it ahead now and try to get it all done and wrapped up. But from tomorrow, I'm actually doing my last session in the upstairs place, and then I'm going to move all the gym equipment down. And then in 5 weeks, it's getting like the Fuji mats are coming, and we're going to have like some really cool conditioning stuff as well. Which is going to be great working with regular fast as well. So it's going to be perfect. I'll be able to do all my strength conditioning like I always do anyway, but even with better facilities and such now. So it's going to be great.
of course. And is that like, will that be your base then? I guess for if a fight does come up, if they find a way to kind of put on an event, you'll have your camp base from your home essentially, rather than going up to Dublin.
Yeah, well, look, I've been speaking to different people about this. I'm speaking to doctors about it as well to see what is the best protocol, and I'm going to probably start sourcing some training partners locally as well as going up to SPG, and I'm going to try have to arrange like testing for myself as well, especially with my kids and whatnot. I know they're not in the higher risk bracket or anything like that, but obviously we want to be erring on the side of caution. But it's great. Like to be honest, Andy, I go to Dublin. I go to Dublin 3 to 4 days a week, and I'll do my other 3 to 4 days a week in Wexford, where I am with my strength and condition, and I'll do an awful lot of striking. So all I'm doing is I'm doing the very same thing, but I'm just doing more in Wexford right now, more at home, and it's working out great. Like I've seen a big jump in my stand up again with different things, and I've been working closely with McGregor Fast, working on my endurance, so we're seeing the numbers improve there. So I just think it's important for everyone to focus on something, and that's all I'm doing. I'm just giving myself some focus right now towards the greater goal, which is to become the Bellator bantamweight world champion. And I'm just seeing this lockdown as a gift as such. This is the perfect opportunity for me to work on things such as aspects of my striking that I want to work on, and my endurance, for instance.
And of course, I saw you've got some great training partners at home, even in the form of your eldest daughter. I saw the
Yeah,
video you put up of her hitting you with the what would you call that
yeah.
that tool, I guess, for
I
movement?
don't even know, but they're like the pool noodles, but they're
Yeah,
better. You know what I mean? They're harder to put that way. She clocked me a few times with them now, in fairness to her. But yeah, no, the girl. That's one great thing. Like I want to show the girls training, and I want to show them what hard work looks like. Both girls, they don't know that I fight competitively. They think I hit the heavy bag and get paid for that. But like I want to show them, that this is what I love doing. I work really hard at it, and it can lead to something. And to expose them to that at this age is great. Now they love coming down. They bring their teddies with them. I put Peppa Pig up on the big screen. It's not, they'll do a few squats and a few lunges and hit the bag and stuff. They love doing it. But it's been great to have them there, because in training camp you can't you have to be tunnel vision
yeah.
on the gym floor.
Is like, for someone like yourself who, as you said, you spent a lot of time going up and down from Dublin, and you have been doing for years, is it almost a blessing in disguise to an extent? Or like, how do you how do you see this kind of this weird time that we're living in? And obviously you've spent less time commuting and more time kind of training at home, but you obviously don't have training partners then. Like, how difficult is it for you to
Yeah.
get solid training in right now?
No, the training isn't in one sense it isn't an issue because I'm so used to this, Andy. Do you know what I mean? This is how I train 50% of the time anyway. I do my training, I review it, I critique it, and I just make it better. And that's just my format, and it's what's worked for the last number of years, the last 4 years. And I've seen the results. Like if I've done that with my striking for the last 4 years. Like if you looked at my fights from further, I was getting hit in fights, and I haven't got hit since I've started this new format. So it's, to me, the training is new. I do really miss jiu-jitsu. I really miss, my training partners in Dublin. I miss sparring, of course, but you just have to get on with it. You have to work with what you have, and put it this way, I don't think my training is that impacted. Where if I got a phone call in the morning saying, right, you're fighting in 4 weeks, that I'd jump on that immediately. That's how I feel how well my training is going.
Yeah, Brian, you're obviously coming off a very dominant win over, I'm going to butcher this name. It's Bin Sun Lee, or I've seen it said different ways. So apologies to Bin Sun Lee on that. But that was almost a year ago now. So obviously you're someone who kind of, I don't want to say has been plagued, but you've had a lot of injuries as of late. Obviously you broke, was it your left hand, I think 6 times, and your right once. Just, I guess, how you obviously had to pull out of the Toby Misic fight back in September as well for Bellator Dublin. But like, how are you doing right now? How are your hands? How are the injuries?
People have said that I'm injury prone, and you'd be right to say that. But if you break it down, like, I'm relatively injury free most of the time. There was one very unlucky occurrence in Oklahoma where my hand wrap burst, backstage before I walked out. I broke my thumb very badly. And because it happened early in the fight, they broke more and more and more. I shattered them. They were shattered that I need a plastic surgeon to put it back together. Not, other than that, I don't get injured. It's just the hands. And when I fought Bin Sun Lee, that was only, I think, 6 months after the surgeries, which was too soon. In fact, I still had a fracture when they reviewed it. So I fought that fracture with 2 hands that were very poor. So that's probably why the finish didn't come that night. But otherwise, I'm injury free, bar the hands. But this lockdown has allowed them to rest that little bit more, and I've been just much better with my preparation in regard to my hands. My hand wrapping takes 20 minutes every single session. It's a pain in the ass, but it's something that needs to be done, and they feel really solid. Like, I was kind of told by a doctor with the right hand that I wouldn't be able to hit the heavy bag anymore with an issue that was going on. I'm back hitting the bag, no problem. I'm back, like I was sparring, you know what I mean? So it's all good. My hands are perfect now.
And then, so like, were you had you been planning, say, your next fight, had the coronavirus kind of scuppered those plans, or I guess where were you, like, where had you planned on fighting next, or when?
Yeah, I was signed and ready to go for the 29th of May, which was this month, in California. And it was a good fight. I don't know if I
was it the 6th of
say.
March? I think you posted saying fight announcement soon. Was that one?
Yeah, and the contract was signed. I was fighting a good guy in California. Very excited for it. But the coronavirus happened, so that fight, I'm not sure if they're going to postpone that, or they're going to look to match me with someone else and him with someone else. I don't know what makes sense. But I was ready for that. I couldn't wait for, you know what I mean? It couldn't have come quick enough. Everything felt great. I was still resting my hands, just more to focus on my grappling. And I was doing, countless rounds with Brad Katona, picking John's brain all the time. And I felt like grappling was coming on leaps and bounds. But, this happened again. But, it'll in no time we'll be back competing again. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and Brian, despite not fighting on the February Bellator card in Dublin, you were in the news a lot. So obviously, Franz lost to Ricky Bandejas, and there was the second SBG member that he's beaten. And then you immediately put your hand up to say, okay, I want next. Was that fight in May, was that going to be against Ricky Bandejas?
No, that fight wasn't.
Okay.
But that's where I think I don't think they're going to rematch me or rebook the fight that got cancelled. I think they're going to put me and Ricky together because of the narrative, because of how much I want it, because of how much Ricky wants it. It's a perfect fight, really. You know what I mean? It's I don't think it's imaginable where, you know what I mean, where you put me and Ricky into a fight and it's not an entertaining one. You know, I like his style, I like his character. I've nothing against him that way, but I badly want to fight him and I badly want to beat him, and so I hope that's the fight that they make.
Of course, and there's obviously a narrative right there and a platter for Bellator to sell. Um, I suppose when you received the opponent, who were you scheduled to fight in May then, if it wasn't Ricky? Because it was confusing to me that they wouldn't match
It
you with
wasn't
Ricky Bandejas.
announced. Sorry.
No, I was just saying it was confusing to me that they wouldn't match you with Ricky Bandejas for that fight when it's there on a silver platter for them.
Absolutely, and like me and Ricky have built this now, and everybody is on board. Everybody wants this to happen. So I think the next Bellator card, wherever it'll be, whether it's in the States, whether it's in Ireland, you know, let's put me and Ricky on that. It's guaranteed to be a fight of the night. And to be honest, I think whoever wins that is just a big step forward to title contention. I don't know what they're going to do with the bantamweight title. I'd imagine they're going to put Archuleta versus Mix. That's just my good feeling that they're going to do it for the vacant, even though on a silver platter is a 16-man Grand Prix. You can name 16 bantamweights for Bellator that are all high level that and make a seriously competitive tournament. So I think that should be the way it'll go. But I'd imagine it'll be Archuleta and Mix that put for the vacant title.
And obviously, a lot of the talk was around the February card. That's where kind of the real, I guess, media interest came from. But I know that you spoke with Paddy Hoolan on the No Shame podcast sooner than then. I think it was before the September card, and even then you were calling for that Bandejas fight. I guess when did this pop into your mind that he came on your radar and that you wanted that fight? Was it back when James fought him, or?
I didn't know who Ricky was until he fought James, and I was impressed by the fight. James, a much better fighter since. That'd be an interesting one to run back to be fair. But I've seen his fights. His last knockout before France, that was a really nice shot as well, and that one really excited me. Like I'm fairly level-headed, but when I see competition like that, that's what really excites me. I really want to fight Ricky because of that. I don't want to fight him because I don't like the guy or anything. I do like the guy. He seems like a good guy. But it's his style. He has dynamite in his hands. He's crafty. He's a good veteran. He's good stand-up and grappling. He gets emotionally involved in the striking too, which I think would be just a complete another stand-up war. But that's what excites me, and that's he's been on my radar since I first seen him. And again, I just believe that whoever wins would be a big step close to a title shot. You know, I think that fight in itself will just make the division even more exciting. It has fireworks all over.
And have Bellator been receptive to the idea of making that matchup? Like, have you had talks with any of the officials there or the matchmakers and Jude Samuel? Have they been entertaining the thought of that matchup happening next?
I haven't officially spoken to any of the matchmakers, but there is interest. There has to be interest. Do you know what I mean? It's a good fight for them. It'll sell a lot of tickets. It'll draw a lot of eyes. That's for sure. You know, there isn't a day that goes by that I don't get a ton of messages about Ricky. It's going on for ages now. You know what I mean? I just want to sign a fucking contract. That's all I want to do. And then I want to train, make the walk, and fight. That's what I want to do. But I do know that there is interest from a lot of people, and I'm sure Bellator are interested in it. I just think it's a matter of time now.
Sure. And then, like, realistically, when do you see yourself fighting next? Like, has there been conversations about Bellator kind of bringing back shows? Obviously, the UFC have been putting on a number of shows. One on Saturday there, and another tonight, and another this weekend. Do Bellator have a plan in place that they've communicated to say, okay, we've nothing official right now, but we are working towards bringing back shows?
Well, they're a very proactive company, and you know as well as much as I do, to be fair, I'm not trying to sound smart, but you know as much as I do. I heard the Scott Coker interview about him wanting to run a good number of shows, and I do know from personal experience from working with Bellator, the likes of working with Mike. They're definitely men of their word too. Whatever they say, they do get it done. So I'd imagine that, you know, the show will be back on the road very soon. I would love the October card to still go ahead. That one, it's just that I missed out on the Dublin cards. You know, I headlined the Dublin card and I've missed out on a couple since, and it's heartbreaking in there. You know what I mean? Actually, one event I couldn't even go to it. I was so upset. But that's why I really want to just see it come back to Dublin. But if that doesn't happen and they have to fly the whole lot of us over to fight in the States, I'm up for that too. I just want to get back in there. More importantly, like, you know, I made the drop to bantamweight the last time I fought. I fought injured. I put in a hell of a camp, and I felt like this was my home. That the bantamweight division was my home. So I just really want to get back in there and show that I'm the best bantamweight in the world. You know, I look at I look at the bantamweights in Bellator, and I genuinely think I smoke every single one of them. So that's the most. I don't care where it is, as long as I get back in there soon.
Yeah, and I know that you spoke again in a previous interview with Paddy Hooland about that you weren't finished with the featherweight division, that you weren't ruling out the possibility of jumping back up. Have you changed your mind on that, or is it the sole focus bantamweight now?
My focus is the bantamweight division, but like there's such intriguing fights at featherweight too. You know, and you look at the guys that I have fought. I fought Lahat with a full camp, and it was the easiest fight in my life until the injuries occurred. I fought Vaichel on very short notice, and I put my hand up that he was the better man on the night. I fought McKee on short notice, sick, and I was beating him. You know, so I just see the division, and I see opportunities there, but I can make the 135-pound division. I can make the 135-pound weight limit, and I can do it pretty easily. So that's where I should be. And like I said, I respect a lot of the guys that are in there, but I beat every single one of them. I really do think that. So I just want to get the show going again, the show on the road, and get the next one in, hopefully against Ricky or whoever it may be, and work my way up to that title shot. You know, the way I see it is I keep winning and they can't ignore me. And I think that's how I'm I think I don't like putting a time limit on it, because who the fuck knows when there could be another virus thrown, you know, but no, I do see myself in the Bellator champ for sure.
Right, and just one more on the Bandejas fight. So, obviously, Irish fans are now familiar with Ricky Bandejas. They've seen him fight James Gallagher. They've seen obviously a highlight reel knockout there. They've seen him knock out Franz Malambo. When you look at that matchup between yourself and Ricky Bandejas, like what do you present that's different than the other lads?
Franz is an excellent striker, and he was getting the better of the exchanges. You know, and when I say striker, he's predominantly a boxer and an excellent boxer. That the guy could get into pro boxing in the morning and do well. I really believe that. I think I give him. I have a higher volume. I have a higher output. I have cardio for days. I think I'm just crafty as an overall striker and overall martial artist, and I think that that'll be too much for him in every department. Do you know what I mean? I think that he'll find it very hard to hit me. I think that he overextends on a lot of shots, leaving himself open. And you know, but then again, he's probably looked at me and he can see holes in my game. So that's what's so intriguing about it. But I've studied him, and I've already this far out, no matter when we're fighting, and I know how to beat him. I want to keep my cards relatively close to my chest, but there's many ways where I can beat Ricky, and it's just a matter of us getting in the cage so I can prove that.
And so Bellator have kind of stormed onto the scene in Ireland lately. Obviously, there's a lot of SPG fighters signed to Bellator right now. Ryan Spillane from SPG Cork City just signed yesterday, or it was announced yesterday rather. But when you look at, like, you're not to be insulting here, but you're no spring chicken, Brian, anymore. Compared, like, you've been around the scene for a long time now. Obviously, you started at 21, and it's what, 11 years on now. When you look at kind of the next, say, 5 years or however many years, is there more of a sense of urgency for you than younger fighters that, let's say, like James or Franz or anyone like that? Where, like, do you have a kind of like a 5-year plan where you want to be fighting fighter A, B, and C and getting to that title quickly? Whereas other fighters who are, say, younger in their careers might not have, or might have a lot more time to play around with.
Funnily enough, never has there been a stage in my career, more so now than I've had less pressure on me. When I was the lad's age, when I was like James's age or Fran's age, there was no Bellator, there was no sponsorships, there was no nothing. There was fighting for a couple of £100 and putting everything into 8 weeks or 10 weeks. And, you know, the financial strain, I would put always time limits on myself. Right, if I haven't made it by now, I'm finished. Or if I haven't done this by now, I'm retiring. And it sucked the joy out of the competition of it. Right now, I'm in a great position in my life. I'm a beautiful family, I have a house, I have a mortgage. I'm making good money fighting. I'm running a good gym. So there's no pressure. On top of that, never have I felt fresher in my life. I've literally got results of my brain scan from yesterday. Everything is perfect. Physically, never been fitter. I'm recovering faster than ever. All my time, like I do everything by the numbers. My fitness scores, my strength scores are better than ever. So never has there been a time where, you know, I feel better. So there is no time limit. I could do this till I'm 40 if I wanted to. Whether I want to or not, that's another story. But from a time perspective, there's not, you know, I could say, right, if I don't do this in 1 year, I'm finished. I'm stopping. I'm not doing that anymore. Whatever maybe it'll be, but that's why my attitude is just win, keep winning, keep making a bit of noise, and they can't ignore you. And that's my plan. And that's the simplest plan of all, but it's my plan.
Yeah, basically, fuck you, Andy. I'm not fucking old.
Yeah.
Right, so let's play fantasy matchmaker here for a second now. So Bellator bantamweight tournaments, it's been called for by many people. Who let's say you've got if there's 8 fighters or 16 fighters, however many, who do you fight on the way to the title? Obviously, let's assume that you fight 3-4 fights, win the title. What's your ideal route to victory there? Your ideal route to the Bellator bantamweight title?
Ricky Bandejas first. That would leave us in.
That's the obvious one.
Sorry, go ahead. No, sorry.
No. Yeah, there's a bit of a delay here, but yeah, basically Ricky Bandejas first is the obvious one, I would say.
Yeah, we'll go with Ricky first. I think Leandro Higo second. There's a bit of beef there.
Good narrative between SPG and the Pitbull brothers.
Yeah, well, look, he was calling me out when I was the featherweight, and since I've moved down, I haven't heard anything from him. So, you know, Ricky first, Higo second. I think that'll be a nice one. And I'd like to fight. You know, I want the best to make their way up to the final, and I believe that the best in the division, besides myself, is either Archuleta or Mix. So either one of them, and both guys are tremendous fighters. So, and so is Higo. I don't like the guy, but he's a good fighter. So that's what I'm saying. There's I think that's a great little route. But there's 16 really good fighters in Bellator that could make a Grand Prix in the morning, no problem. But yeah, I like that tree. What do you think?
No, that sounds like a pretty good way to do it to me, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Right, well, Brian, I really appreciate. I've taken far too much of your time already, so I really appreciate you stopping by and chatting with me. I hope that the Ricky Bandejas fight gets made. I know that he's interested. I saw him commenting on you put up a video saying name a person with faster hands than these, and he was quick to throw his own name in there. So I know that he's on board for the fight. I think the narrative is there. It's on a silver platter for Bellator, so it would make a lot of sense. And I think probably in Dublin, I think that'd be a good headlining fight. But yeah, so I really appreciate it, Julie. And where can people find you online, Brian, and all that stuff? Where's your social media handles?
Brian Moore MMA on Instagram, on Twitter. I don't really use Facebook, so just stick with those two and you're good.
Grant. Brian, thank you very much for your time. Speak to you again soon, and hopefully next time we both have a decent haircut once the barber's open.
This is good. It's not too bad, is it?
Yeah, I had to slick it back today, so...
It's not working, Andy. Do something
different. Just gonna have to chop it off. I'll just get bits out. Right, all the best.
Take care, man. Thank you.
Take it easy.